What's up, YouTube? It's your boy Ree. We back, man. In this vid, we got top 3 stories of people who solved their own murders. So, usually people, it's a hint or a clue, a tip. Somebody get tipped off about something, and that's how you find out. But people solving their own murders, I'm real interested. I was already starting to watch this. I watched the first 40 seconds. We just gonna continue from there. You know what I'm saying? It's not nothing y'all miss, really.
Got the truest form of revenge, as they are the ones who name their killers and ensure that justice is served. Our first case is one that proves the importance of taking a closer look at clues, as they just might reveal exactly what you are looking for. In 2003, Amarjit Chauhan was a successful businessman with the Seba Freight Company in London, England. The 46-year-old lived with his 25-year-old wife, Nancy.
I ain't gonna lie, anybody else watch stuff like this, they can get scared a little bit, especially when y'all in the crib by yourselves. Like, I'm a grown man now, like 20, but I still be feeling weird a little bit. I don't know if it's just me. I don't know, man.
Sons, 18-month-old Devinder and 2-month-old Ravinder, and Nancy's mother, Karanjit Kaur. Amarjit's work with his fruit and vegetable distribution company had made him rich. In fact,
Rich with fruit?
He was reported to be a multi-millionaire. And though he was flourishing, everything was about to go terribly wrong for the family. On February 15th, 2003, Nancy called her brother, Onkar Verma, who lived in New Zealand. She told him that she was worried because she hadn't heard from Amarjit, and that he hadn't returned to their home after he was meant to have finished work. Apparently, she couldn't get him on the phone. But when she contacted the freight company where he worked, she was told he had gone on a supposed urgent business trip to the Netherlands. Nancy had told her brother that she was upset because Amarjit hadn't told her about the trip himself. What's more, she doubted that he could travel, as his passport was reportedly being held by the UK government, as he had applied for permanent residency. She didn't understand why his employees would have lied to her about her husband's whereabouts. Then, things became even more concerning when she received a message from Amarjit, which said that he would be back soon. The problem was, he always messaged her in Punjabi, and this one was written in English. Things just weren't adding up.
Yeah.
But another twist came when Onkar could no longer get a hold of his sister. After worrying for a few days, he decided to contact Scotland Yard on February 19th. When the family's London flat was visited, however, Onkar was told that there was no sign of Nancy, nor anyone else. In fact, there were no clues at all about what had happened to the Chauhan family, or where they could have gone. The house wasn't disturbed. No clothing had been taken.
This is scary,
and the
bro.
children's toys
None
were
of y'all,
still on the ground.
I was scared. I don't even want to react to
As
this.
there was no sign of a struggle, investigators considered the chance that the family had simply left their home in a hurry. Further investigation began to suggest that the family may have been kidnapped.
Life is trying to put our generation
Being kidnapped, bro, that gotta be the worst feeling, bro. Like, I pray if any of y'all ever got kidnapped before, like, y'all had to endure that, y'all made it alive. Like, I pray, I really, like, that's like a tragic moment in your life, like, for that to happen. I pray that I'll get overcome that. Like, I can't imagine getting kidnapped, bro. They gotta kill me right where I'm at. Don't never let nobody take y'all somewhere else, bro. They gotta kill y'all on the spot, bro. Make sure they put the gun to you and kill you on the spot before they let them take you somewhere else. You don't know what they gonna do to you, bro. They get you in a fucking dark house, bro. People with minds is messed up, bro. People minds is messed up. I want to try to be safe, bro, cause people messed up, bro.
Discovered that Amarjit hadn't been heard from since February
My fault.
14th, while his family was last seen on February 16th. The investigation was stunted from the beginning, with no sign of where the Chauhan family had gone. But on March 24th, a typewritten letter was sent to Amarjit's place of work, which stated that he and his family had moved to Calais, France, where they were living happily, but they would soon travel to India. This was impossible, as the UK's government still had the family's passports. Despite this lead, it didn't bring investigators any closer to finding the Chowan family. They appeared to have simply vanished. But then in April, during a family's canoeing trip along the Bournemouth Pier, they discovered something horrible in the water. A body. It belonged to Amarjit. Further investigation found Nancy's body in the same area, though it wasn't uncovered until July, while her mother's body was discovered off the Isle of Wight in a bay in November. The two baby boys' bodies were never found. Now that the case was a murder investigation rather than missing persons, authorities began looking into every possible means.
I got pause for a second, bro.
Out who could have killed the Chowan family. At first, there was nothing to help investigators. But then, from beyond the watery grave, Amarjit managed to leave a final clue for detectives to discover. Something had alerted Amarjit before his death. He began to suspect that his life was in danger, and that someone might soon try to kill him. He decided that the best way to alert the police to his suspicions was write a letter. Amarjit was killed before he could send it, but that didn't stop him from alerting police to his suspicion about who might be the one to kill him. During the initial examination of Amarjit's body and clothing, nothing appeared amiss. There was evidence that he had been gagged, and a blood toxicology report showed that he had been exposed to high levels of a sedative. But this fit the police theory that he had been kidnapped. It wasn't until months later, when Amarjit's sock was more closely examined, that the letter was discovered. Just before he had died, Amarjit had tucked the letter deep into the folds of his sock. And knowing his eventual fate, he was likely hoping that its contents would help solve his death. Even though the paper had been completely soaked through by seawater, Detective Chief Inspector David Little said that the ink was still legible because of how Amarjit had tightly folded the paper.
Wow.
He had folded the letter with the ink on the inside many times over and over, preserving the important words within. The actual contents of the letter turned out to be unimportant. However, Amarjit had addressed it to Kenneth Regan, and it was dated February 12th, the day before Amarjit went missing. Authorities immediately began looking into Regan, who was allegedly a known drug dealer with a criminal record. Police used cell phone site analysis, and they quickly put together a promising timeline. Amarjit's phone was traced to be near Stonehenge on the 13th, and Regan, along with the men believed to be his accomplices, Bill Hornsey and Peter Rees, were allegedly also shown to be in the same area. The site analysis also showed that Regan and Hornsey were near the Chowan family home on the same day they went missing. Police allege that Regan's motive was purely greed. They theorized that his plan had been to kill Amarjit and his entire family so he could gain control of his multi-million-dollar freight company and use it to bring drugs into the country. An article by Medium.com reports that Regan made Amarjit sign blank papers, which he then purportedly later typed on to say that the millionaire had handed the company over to him. Police believe that for several days, Amarjit was tied up and held hostage at his own house before he was finally killed, and he and his family's bodies were eventually dumped in the sea.
That's just heartless.
As police closed in on Regan, Hornsey, and Rees, the men fled. Rees was found hiding in Gloucestershire, while Regan and Hornsey managed to get on a ferry to Calais, where they were on the run from authorities for a few months. Regan was eventually arrested in Belgium, and soon after, Hornsey gave himself up at Dover. During the ensuing trial, all three men denied any role in the Chowan family's death.
I don't believe it.
And Regan even alleged that an Asian gang had killed the Chowans, and forced him to dispose of their bodies.
Stop fucking lying.
The letter Amerjit wrote, along with other evidence, was used to help convict them.
Sure, there's more than one way to get the job done.
That's a crazy story, bro. I want to move on to the second one, bro.
According to The Guardian, all three were sentenced to life in prison.
That's good. Move on to the next one. Move on to the next one.
To be the main security agency for the Soviet Union. The KGB's
This a
main
new one?
reason for existence was to quell any dissent, which was largely seen as anyone harboring anti-communist ideology within the Soviet Union. The KGB is still infamous today for their reportedly violent methods. When the Soviet Union ended, the KGB was replaced with the lesser-known FSK, and then the FSB, which reportedly operated similarly. This is where our case begins. Alexander Litvinenko was born in Voronezh, Russia in 1962. His career flourished as soon as it began, graduating from the Kirov Higher Command School and becoming a platoon commander in the Soviet ministry in 1985. The next year, he was reportedly recruited by the KGB as an informant in the counterintelligence section. By 1988, he is said to have transferred to the KGB's 3rd Chief Directorate before he officially became an operational KGB officer. In this role, Alexander saw active military service and began to focus on the infiltration of organized crime within Russia. His name and career became known to the Western world, and the media began referring to him somewhat inaccurately as a Russian spy. In fact, he only dealt in secrets regarding organized crime groups. In 1995, the KGB, which had become the FSK in 91, was replaced with the FSB, but Alexander's career remained largely the same until in 1997, when he was promoted to the FSB Directorate of Analysis and Suppression of Criminal Groups. Everything seemed to be going well for Alexander, but that wouldn't last. In his work, Alexander discovered some things that were better left unknown, at least for his own safety. He purportedly found incriminating links between top brass of Russian law enforcement agencies and Russian mafia groups. Alexander had earned his prosperous career by ruthlessly seeking out and getting rid of organized crime groups. And so, in 1998, when he discovered corruption within the highest levels of Russian law enforcement, he attempted to bring it to the attention of his superiors, including a man named Vladimir Putin. Putin would become prime minister in 1999. Alexander brought his proof of corruption in the FSB to Putin, and Alexander later reflected on the meeting, saying, "I could see in his eyes that he hated me." Still, Alexander did not give up, and he held a press conference regarding the corruption. This resulted in his dismissal from the FSB, but more concerningly, Alexander had put a target on his back and made enemies of very powerful men.
What? Shut
Though he
up.
was
That's what you're
reportedly
supposed to
ordered
do.
not to leave Moscow, Alexander and his family fled to London in October of 2000, seeking political asylum and protection.
Y'all ever just hear stuff? I don't be tripping, bro.
He was granted asylum in 2001. Though he was reportedly convicted of charges of corruption back in Russia, Alexander began a prominent career as a journalist and author in England, even coining the term mafia state to describe Russian politics. Alexander once again found himself within the web of spying, as he was allegedly recruited by MI6 in England to consult on organized crime in Europe, but mostly Russian-related mafia activity. In 2006, he was even set to give a statement in Spain about Russian mafia influence within Spanish borders. It was his involvement in this perilous line of work that would come back to haunt him. On November 1st, 2006, Alexander suddenly felt very ill. 2 days later, he was admitted to a hospital in London, but he was soon moved into intensive care. His illness didn't make sense. At only 44, Alexander was a healthy and strong man, and his symptoms didn't look anything like the doctors had seen before. He had severe diarrhea and vomiting, but also could barely walk. After a series of tests, it was determined that Alexander was suffering from poisoning. But not just any poisoning. He had been given polonium-210, a highly rare and toxic element. Alexander had acute radiation syndrome. Polonium-210 is one of the deadliest toxins, about 250 billion times more toxic than hydrogen cyanide. 1 gram of polonium-210 could kill 50 million people and make 50 million more ill. Alexander could have died after consuming less than 1/1,000,000th of that amount. But how on earth had Alexander come in contact with such a rare poison in the middle
They
of
gave
London?
it to him.
Alexander knew he was going to die. There was no way to survive the poison that was coursing through his veins and shutting down his organs as it went. But he wasn't going to die without first catching the people who had poisoned him.
That's right.
The day that he had first become sick, Alexander had met
He was
with
smart.
Dmitry Kovtun and Andrei Lugovoy at the Millennium in London.
Rest in peace to him, bro.
Alexander and Lugovoy had once worked together in the FSB. The men had met up to chat about old times, just as they had previously in October. While together,
Whoa, what happened? I should better not stop screen recording, bro, on everything, bro. I'm really gonna see that.
Watch me.
I'm sorry, y'all. We
Watch
back.
me shine.
I mean, we still here.
One to move fans.
Alexander once again found himself within the web of spying, as he was allegedly
Me forward. We more,
makes sense. At only 44,
we more,
poisoning, he had polonium-210
we more forward than this.
out his suspicions. As police began
I'm ready.
investigating, they carefully traced the two men's paths. They discovered that Kovtun had left traces of polonium in the house he had been staying at in Hamburg before coming to London, as well as in his car. When investigators began looking, they found traces of polonium in the men's hotel room, restaurant tables, and even on a shisha pipe. Radiation was also found in the men's bathroom at the Millennium Hotel. Alexander's poisoning is believed to have exposed 700 people to radiation, but at such a low level that no one else became sick. Alexander had been right about the tea, and investigators discovered a hot teapot in the Millennium Hotel, meaning it was radioactive. Alexander's wife accused Moscow of sending Kovtun and Lugovoy to kill him, though she never named anyone who she thought gave the command, specifically out of fear for her own life. Scotland Yard made a statement saying, "The evidence suggests that the only credible explanation is in one way or another, the Russian state is involved in Litvinenko's murder." After suffering for 22 days, on November 22nd, 2006, Alexander's heart failed and he died. Because of political implications, it is only suspected that he was assassinated. Though Kovtun and Lugovoy denied any role in Alexander's poisoning and death, a witness came forward to say that they had heard Kovtun refer to Alexander as a traitor, who he intended to make an example of. There is an irony to the fact that shortly after Alexander died, Kovtun was hospitalized for radiation poisoning. Lugovoy was
Look what you
named
get,
as the
nigga.
primary suspect in Alexander's death, while Kovtun was said to be the second suspect. Russia has refused to extradite either men to be charged or receive a trial.
Cause this one of
Alexander
these
spent
people.
his last few days alive making sure to gather as much evidence as possible against the men he believed to have poisoned
That's
him.
smart.
And perhaps one day they will see justice. Today's third and final case is just as shocking as the previous two, and it shows the importance of trusting one's own instincts. Russ Stagger worked as a football
Trust your
coach at
instincts.
Durham
Whoever
High
watching
School.
this.
In that position,
Durham?
he was popular
Is Durham, North Carolina? Cause I used to live in Durham. If it is North Carolina, that's crazy. Durham. I think so.
and well liked. In the late 1970s, he had divorced his first wife, Jo Lynn Snow, after 5 years. And though they were both sad to have their relationship end, they remained friends. However, Russ felt lonely after his divorce and missed that close relationship with someone he trusted. It was a year later that he met the beautiful, widowed, 31-year-old Barbara Terry. Their meeting seemed like the perfect story, accidentally bumping into each other when she came to see a house he was selling, and they both instantly felt a strong attraction. After a whirlwind romance, Russ proposed to Barbara after only a few months of dating, and the seemingly happy couple married in 1979. Russ even adopted Barbara's 2 sons she had during her previous marriage. Russ continued his job and also began teaching driver's ed, while Barbara, who was known to be the perfect homemaker, worked as a secretary at Duke University and as an ad salesperson for a radio station. She was even an aspiring author. The couple reportedly needed both jobs, as they were known by friends and family to spend money almost as fast as they made it, buying new clothes, cars.
It's a lot of y'all people out here, man. It's a lot of y'all.
However, not everything was as it seemed. Russ soon discovered that Barbara had been lying to him about their finances, and the couple was deeply in debt. Allegedly, Barbara had even forged his signature on financial paperwork, and there are claims that she had begun a scheme with the banks by borrowing money from one and paying it off with a loan from another. She also had allegedly lied to Russ and the banks about
300 IQ.
for $100,000.
300 IQ, man.
She had been rejected by a publishing house. Regardless, she reportedly used a forged letter, made from the rejection letter, as collateral in order to keep receiving loans.
Yo,
When
she
Barbara
different.
explained that she had gotten in over her head, Russ eventually forgave her, but insisted that from then on, he would be the one in charge of their finances. He believed that they could pay off the debt. They only had to cut the extravagant buying and move to a smaller house. Russ even asked his parents for help paying for the debt, which they agreed to. Something that is important to know about Russ is that he often slept with a handgun below his pillow, just in case of any emergency during the night. It was said that Barbara liked knowing that they could use it to protect themselves if they needed to, which is exactly what ended up happening. Or at least, that was the story. On February 1st, 1988, Barbara woke to the sound of someone moving in their house. When she looked over, Russ was fast asleep next to her. It could have been her 2 boys, but something told Barbara it was an intruder. In her sleep-muddled mind, she thought it best that she check out the noise before
I ain't gonna lie, y'all. I didn't even expect to bring this up. I'm bringing it up because I just heard something. The other night, right? This not to make myself seem like a punk, but I'm walking into the bathroom, right? I look inside the sink. I swear to God, it's 1,000 liters inside the sink, but it can't get out the sink because if I show y'all my sink, it's like a sink that's like downwards. Like you trying to crawl out the sink, he kept sliding back in. So I went inside the sink. I seen the I jumped back fast, because it surprised me at first. But I'm just thinking about that to say, like, what if an intruder really in your crib and you got a gun? You gotta find out where the intruder at. The intruder inside your house, lights off. They could be anywhere, anytime, ready to shoot you. So being in that situation is already scary in itself. So it's like I just when that time come, I just pray to be prepared and God take control of my body and no weapon formed against me shall prosper, man. Amen. Real rap, because people is crazy, man.
Nothing. Barbara reached for the gun under Russ's pillow, and that's when everything went wrong. When she tried to move it, the gun accidentally went off, shooting Russ in the back of the head. Horrified, Barbara called 911 at 6:08 a.m., and EMTs rushed to the house. At first, there seemed to be some hope, as Russ was still alive.
Oh, they saying, no, my fault. I think they saying her story was fake. Nobody tried to rob them. She shot him in the head because she wanted all his bread. My fault, y'all. I thought the story was real for a second. That story not real. She killed him, bro, for money.
but he died a few hours later. The police investigated this strange and shocking death and concluded that Barbara wasn't lying, and the gun had truly gone off accidentally.
Oh, my fault,
But
y'all.
it was Russ's first wife, Jo Lynn, who couldn't accept that Russ's death was an accident.
His first wife. Wow.
She began campaigning to have the case reopened and told police that Russ had confided to her that Barbara mistreated him and he was afraid of her. He also told her that if anything happened to him, Barbara did it. The problem was, even though the police may have been interested in pursuing Russ's death as more than an accident, there was no proof. This is until a student was snooping around a locker at the high school where Russ had worked. Within the locker was a tape made by Russ. The student brought the tape to the authorities, who were shocked to hear what Russ had recorded. Russ had begun to feel unsafe around his wife and suspicious about some of her actions. He decided that the best thing he could do was create an audio diary detailing some of the things that she had done. In the recording, he talked about their debts and Barbara's unwillingness to stop spending money, as well as her expectation that he provide the life for her that she wanted. But more interestingly, Russ also recorded that he had recently caught Barbara having an affair, one he had witnessed himself by walking into the room and catching her kissing another man. The last entry that Russ had made was 3 days before his death, and it was the most telling. Russ told the recorder that she continued waking him up in the night, trying to give him pills. He said, quote, "Last night, she woke me up and gave me what she said was 2 aspirins. She stood there to see if I took it. I did not take it. When he looked closer in the morning, he found out that the pills were not aspirin, but actually sleeping pills." Forensics were soon deployed and discovered that Barbara's story about the gun accidentally going off didn't actually make sense. It revealed that the gun was never kept under the pillow as Barbara claimed, but actually in a side drawer. And Russ also didn't ever keep the gun loaded. As well, because of the model of the gun, it required 4 pounds of pressure on the trigger, which couldn't have been done accidentally. Barbara was soon arrested under suspicion of murder. While in court, it was revealed that Barbara's first husband had died in a similar manner, earning her the nickname a Black Widow Killer. Larry Ford, Barbara's first husband, had died after an allegedly accidental shooting in High Point, North Carolina.
This shit really be going on, bro, in real life. People getting away with this shit, killing these people, bro. Then she finally got caught killing her second husband, bro. How can you kill 2 husbands? What the fuck? You made yourself a widow twice. Bro, I can't fathom it, bro.
Barbara claimed that Larry's gun went off while he was cleaning it. This shooting, too, was seen as a tragic mishap. In Russ's tape, he expressed his own suspicion that Barbara's first husband's death hadn't been an accident.
He said
Allegedly,
that? I'm gonna hear it.
Barbara's motive in Russ's death was a $170,000 life insurance policy.
I said money.
She couldn't
I swear to God, I don't watch none of my videos before I record. If I watch a video, like a music video, I'll tell you. I say, I listen to this video. You're going to react to it. I don't never watch none of my videos, bro. I said she did that for money. She did it for $170,000, bro. That's corny, bro. She the lowest of the low. She deserved to be under the fucking jail, bro. Under the jail.
The lower budget lifestyle they had recently adopted.
She didn't want to live a lower budget lifestyle.
Not only did police have enough suspicion to look deeper into Barbara,
they can rearrest her.
Because of his recordings, the jury heard Russ's own voice telling them just how fearful he was of his wife. Barbara Stagger was convicted in 1989 for murdering Russ and given the death penalty. However, this was commuted. She is currently serving life in prison. Though these surprising cases of people solving their own...
Hold on, I don't want to watch no more. I gotta watch something happy, man. Listen, y'all messing with me. Show me some love. That video was a lot, bro, just to watch. And it really touched me to stomach certain stuff, bro, because certain stuff I can't fathom about doing or people doing to people, bro. I watched so many videos of interrogation, bro. I seen people kill their own kids. their own kids, their own wife, their own husband, their own mom, their own. I seen the bro. This shit I never thought. Nah, I ain't gonna lie. I knew it go on in the world, but like, why? What made you kill your own mom, bro? Unless, like, if it's a life or death situation, bro, I'm always gonna say protect yourself. But no, people be killing out of just stupidity, bro. Make me mad. Make me mad, bro. But that's it for the vid, man. Y'all messing with me, show me some love. I'll see you on the next one, man. We got this. Bye, man. Gang.